Hey, good afternoon or good evening. This is George Zayas with SmokerTalk Podcast. I'm your host. Along with me, my partner, Dave Steve. And tonight, we have a special guest, Paulie Malignaggi. The Magic Man is in the house. What's up, Paulie? What's going on, brother?
Hey, nothing much. What's going on? You guys tell me.
What's with that beard? What is with that beard?
It's my quarantine beard. You know, like the NHL players don't shave during the NHL playoffs, or
Right.
being that there's no NHL playoffs. I'm having my own quarantine beard for these playoffs.
That is
when
awesome,
when the quarantine ends, I'll shave.
You know what's funny?
That is awesome.
I had the same thing going on. I called it the what did I call it? The Q. What is it? QC instead of GQ? No. What did I call it? Anyway,
QG?
Oh my God.
Yeah. The quarantine.
Corona quarantine. CQ. Not GQ, CQ.
It was CQ. But I shaved it out and I'm down to this.
God.
But anyway, what's going on, bro? You've been doing a lot of stuff lately. We're going to talk about a little bit about your career. We're going to go into that a little bit.
Yeah.
But
what are you doing for work right now? What are you doing? Do you get a stimulus check? What's up?
No. I don't get a stimulus check, and they won't give me no unemployment either. So I think I'm just beat.
Oh man.
and all the SBA loans for all my companies. All the big corporations took them. So not even my companies are getting loans from the government. Nothing. Zero. Nada. We got nothing here. We're just working off the savings.
Oh my God.
Oh man. You know what? Let's talk about that, man.
Yeah. Well, where do we start?
You know what? I think people want to know. George, you want to give like a little rundown of Paulie's career first, or you want to?
No, let's just jump right into it.
Let's jump into it.
Yeah,
all right,
we're gonna
boxing for a second.
We're gonna cover boxing and the knuckle brawling that you did also as well, and then your career in Showtime. Where that's taking you, and where do you look into the future if you're getting back in the ring, or you're gonna become a trainer, that kind of stuff. So we'll go into that. So first thing, Paulie, when did you stop boxing and why? What got you into boxing?
I started boxing. I was 16 years old. I was, the typical quintessential boxing story. Had a little bit of trouble, kind of misguided, looking for your own way, and some family members brought me to the gym, and the rest is history. That's the short story.
All right, and you're originally from Brooklyn, right? New Yorker, Brooklyn.
Bensonhurst, Brooklyn. Yep, where all the Italians used to be.
Oh, okay. But originally you were born in Italy, no? You were born in Italy.
No, I'm born in Brooklyn, in South Brooklyn, in Carroll Gardens at Long Island College Hospital, which is closed now. And then my family moved back to Italy when I was 6 or 7 months old, and we stayed there for 6 years. So I had my first years in Italy, pretty much, but I'm born in Brooklyn.
So your first language is essentially Italian. The first one that you
my first language was Italian. Yes, now my first language is English. I still speak Italian, but at the time when I moved back to the U.S., I did not speak English. No, I only spoke Italian.
Wow.
But I was 6 years old, so you learn.
Right.
So at 16, so you got into some trouble in the streets at school. How did that happen?
Yeah, it was a little bit of both, and got expelled, and you just kind of. I was a misguided kid. I don't think any kid is a bad kid. I don't think you're at a certain age you can be bad. I think you can become bad with the wrong people around you and the wrong influences around you and things, and the wrong environment possibly. But I don't think anybody is just a bad kid. So I think I'm sort of I just consider myself, I was sort of misguided, and I was looking for to be guided in the right direction. I guess when you're at that age, that's what you're looking for. And luckily for me, my family decided to steer me into boxing once things didn't work out with school. It's not a story that you tell somebody else to do. It basically, okay, forget school, go to boxing. It wasn't my plan, but worked out that way.
All right, so now you're 16. You're in the gym. And was it a coach that guided you, and I'm gonna be real blunt here, because sometimes getting punched in the face a couple of times, I think, kind of wakes you up and realize if you got somebody that's experienced, you kind of realize you're like, oh man, this is not what I thought. I'm not as tough as I thought. Was that something that happened to you? Was that something that you could relate with?
Well, it wasn't a coach, but my uncle, one of my uncles, my youngest uncle is my mother's youngest brother. He's only 8 years older than me, so he was still young, and he had done a little bit of boxing in his teenage years, just to mess around with it. And he told my grandfather, you know what, teach his knucklehead something. Send him to the boxing gym. It'll teach him something, you know. Instead of him thinking he's out of school, he's just gonna hang out in the street all day long, you know. So my grandfather at first had a little bit of trepidation because it's funny, or not funny, but it's ironic that a professional boxer had just died in a fight in Italy at that time, you know. So my grandfather had heard that and thought like, nah, I don't want my grandkid to box. And then after a few weeks, he kind of just said, all right, forget it, let's just send him to the gym. So from there, we went to the gym. But to tell you the truth, I wasn't always the biggest kid. I would get into fights in school and in the street, but I can tell you I won every single fight I was in, you know. So I knew I already realized my mortality. I wasn't a big kid. I would fight you, but sometimes you were too big for me, you know what I'm saying? So, but my thing was, I would fight you, you know. So some you win, some you lose. It's just part of being a scrapper, you know. But so I think when I went to the gym, I didn't consider myself to be the be all end all. Luckily I took the right approach, and I told myself, okay, they're going to teach me how to fight properly. You don't know how to fight, so just have an open mind and go with what they're going to teach you, you know, because there's a technique to this, you know. And so luckily for me, that's the mindset that I took, and that's the mindset that eventually had me learning.
All right. So do you think that even when you fought the guys that were bigger than you, did you kind of get your respect from these guys? Because I remember getting into scraps as a little kid and also having bigger guys. And after the fight, I got a lot of respect from them. Is that something that you went through also?
Yeah, absolutely. Because your refusal to be pushed around. Brooklyn in bad in those days was not Brooklyn today. You know, like it wasn't the nice Brooklyn. It was the Brooklyn where you had to kind of fight your way for your respect.
No hipsters.
No, there was no hipsters. There was no hipsters. If there was any hipsters, we were robbing them. So there wasn't any hipsters. So there was so no, you had to get your respect, you kind of had no choice. Otherwise you were gonna kind of allow yourself to be walked on. Yeah, you had to go to school every day, man, you know. So whether you went to class or not, you were around that environment. So you kind of wanted your respect, and you kind of if you didn't get it, you kind of had the only way you were gonna get it is if you kind of stepped up and did what you did. And even if you didn't win, if you let it be known that when people are gonna mess with you, that they're gonna have to work for it, they're gonna have to be in a fight. Yeah, it's gonna be a fight. Even they might beat you, but you think somebody wants to get into a fight every day with you? No, at a certain point, it's like, all right, you know what? This kid's not gonna take it. Let's go take on an easier victim, you know. Yeah, and also people give you, you wind up getting your respect. You wind up making friends that way, and you kind of sometimes you make the wrong friends too. You know, it happens.
That is part of it. Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna give a shout out to Sonia Lamanakis. That's she's actually tuned in. She says she loves you. She says love Paulie.
Sonia's the best. Sonia runs the USA Boxing Metro. I don't know if she runs it or if she's one of the top people there for sure. Because I run a lot of stuff through Sonia, and I have a couple of kids that I sponsor, and she's always very helpful with guiding me in the right direction. Because it's funny when you turn pro, in the few years you turn pro, you're still kind of following amateur boxing, but then as you kind of disperse into your professional boxing career, you kind of lose touch with the amateurs. So once I started sponsoring the couple of kids that I sponsor, I kind of have to learn some new rules and learn how things are run. And so Sonia's really good at guiding me through it, because I don't know anything. I don't know anything. Like I come back into amateur boxing, like trying to figure things out, and I'm like, man, this is so different. Like I don't remember a lot of this stuff. So Sonia's been great at
the Cangelosi you're talking about.
Yes, the Cangelosi brothers. Yes, the Cangelosi brothers. And so I've been learning through Sonia a lot.
All right, we got Bravo. He says, "What's up, guys?" And he's also shouting somebody out there. Timothy Tyndale, which is a regular here. Thank you for tuning in. Felipe Gomez says, "Hello,
Felipe, man. Me and Felipe go back a long way. Yeah, that's my guy. Me and Felipe go back a long way, man."
Yes, absolutely. All right, Paul, I gotta ask you something. You're known as somebody in the gym. I don't know if you know it. I'm pretty sure you know it, but as uncoachable. You just have your own way of doing things. You don't listen to coaches. You do your own thing. Is that an accurate thing, or do you have
who said that? Who called me uncoachable?
Everybody.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll say this. When I first got there to boxing, I think I was very coachable, and then I started to just kind of add my own stuff into it, because I think if you're not coachable, you're not going to learn your fundamentals and your foundation and your boxing skills. I have a lot of natural athleticism. I was always very good at sports, so I obviously, for me to get a late start in boxing, my athleticism had to kind of compensate for the lack of experience, but I had to learn some of the fundamentals. I think I was pretty coachable until a certain point in my career where I realized that some coaches you might go backwards with if you're not careful, you know?
Right.
And so after I passed a certain point in my boxing career, and I passed a specific point in my boxing career, I realized, okay, I have to make certain key decisions when it comes to coaches. It's not necessarily the guys that everybody thinks is that great. They might be great, but it might not be great for me. You know, everybody has their different style.
Exactly.
Because I don't think anybody necessarily a bad coach, but they can be a bad coach for your style. You know, and so after that, I started to really be more vocal about things I liked and didn't like. Certain moves I'd be working on and whatnot. Because until that point, I tried to kind of always listen to coaches and never question coaches. And then I found myself in a situation where we were trying to fit a round piece into a square peg, you know, or a round peg into a square hole, so to speak. And it didn't work out for me that well for a little bit of time. And so after I made that change in my career, I think that I became more vocal as to certain techniques and certain things I wanted to work on and certain things I wouldn't agree with. But I was always was willing to learn. I think I had no choice. I had a lot of damaged hands, so I had to learn the best of the techniques and the best of the survival ways to win in fights in order to have a boxing career.
Okay, and now this is what I want to say, and this is my point. Listening to you, it confirms it. You are definitely one of the great minds in boxing today on the Showcase of Boxing. You're everybody's favorite commentator. You break things down that people just don't understand, and I think it's because as a fighter, this is one of the things that I admire about you. You take somebody like a Deontay Wilder or Mike Tyson, they have this crazy power. Or Lomachenko, who grew up in the boxing world, and his father is like a boxing coach for the country. Yeah, you're not that. You're somebody who started late. You're somebody with, as far as I know, you broke your right hand for every fight. I mean, like, you know.
I broke a lot, yeah. You broke it a lot, including in the bare knuckle fight.
Yeah, I mean, but what you do is you win. You find a way to win, and that shows a genius boxing IQ. And it shows in your commentating and it shows in your fight. So I don't think that coaches are going to have that much an effect on you. I think you're going to be the best coach. Mm-hmm. You know, that's that I see. I don't know.
It's both accurate and inaccurate. I think it can be right and wrong. I'll say this. I think I took something from all my coaches, even the lesser talented coaches. You know, there was always something I could take. It's just sometimes I wound up in a situation where you're trying to add things and you're taking away too much from me and trying to add that. So as long as you're adding to me and not taking away from me, I can understand it. As a matter of fact, even situations where I didn't think a coach was good for me, I wound up keeping certain things that worked for me without eliminating and the things that worked for me. And then when I left that coach, I brought a lot of the things that worked for me back, yet still keeping some of the things he had taught me, you know? So I think you have to find the right balance, but I've worked with some good boxing minds. I'll tell you the best coach I ever had, to tell you the truth. And he's the one that like taught me everything from the go, from not from the go, but from my amateur career. And he was around me on and off throughout my pro career, was a guy that probably nobody's going to give credit to because he's such a quiet guy and he never really made a big name for himself. Orlando Carrasquillo was his name. He's a Puerto Rican guy from New York. And he kind of just ended up, he worked with a lot. He was just a pad man. He was an assistant under Joey Fariello with Mark Breland and Junior Jones. And then he was working with a lot of the fighters in main events back in the late 90s, mid to late 90s, like Pernell Whitaker, Arturo Gatti, Zab Judah. He was just their pad guy, you know, and he was a guy who taught me a lot of the techniques, and he would explain a lot of things in a very concise way, very scientific way. And the thing about Orlando was he was always kind of a strange guy. He was really quiet. He would just randomly disappear from the gym, go get a regular job suddenly, and he wanted to do boxing anymore, you know. And eventually he just kind of walked away from boxing altogether because boxing just wasn't consistent enough for him. But he just wasn't a talkative guy. But I picked up a lot off him, and I was able to take a lot of what he taught me and obviously add to it with some of the other great coaches that I've had, because I've had some very good coaches in my career. But I remember a lot of the base things he taught me, the fundamental, because I ask a lot of questions when you're teaching me something, because I don't just want to be taught something. I want to know why it's like this. I want to know how to set it up so I can also be careful not to be set up for the same move. Okay. And I remember in the discussions I had with him during our workouts, I just took in a lot. And it's funny because I think a lot of the things I pick up on when I'm commentating are a lot of the things that I was taught to look for when I was working with him, when he was working with me. It's just I'm talkative, he's not. So I basically stole all his knowledge and just use it in my commentating, you know. So nobody's ever gonna know. It's crazy. Nobody's ever gonna know this guy. But I give him credit every chance I get, because I don't think I'd be the same fighter if it wasn't for him. And again, I'll a lot of credit to a lot of the other coaches I worked with too, because I've worked with some amazing coaches. But to be somebody that knew nothing and to be taught by this guy, and to be open-minded about it was really, really important to me, because things that he taught me came in strategically, became very important even later on, because I worked with him on and off my whole career.
All right. So give us, let's share a little bit of this wealth. Like, give me like one footwork thing that he worked on, or a tell of a fighter, because you read fighters up and down, you know.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay. I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example of something that Orlando had worked with me. So I remember working the Deontay Wilder versus Malik Scott fight in Puerto Rico years ago. This was I think it was underneath the Danny Garcia versus Mauricio Herrera card. Okay. And Deontay winds up knocking out Malik Scott in one round. And who's Deontay's coach? It's Mark Breland. Breland used to work pairs with Orlando, and Breland's coach was Joey Fariello. So Orlando had a history with Breland. So I remember Wilder stopping Malik Scott on the ropes with a left hook, straight right hand combination on the ropes, you know. And I remember it was a combination Orlando used to work out with me a lot, and he would tell me, when you throw the left hook right hand, you're basically using the left hook as a show me punch. It's not a lot of power on it. You just want the guy to react to it, and then as he's reacting to it, you're shooting the right hand down the middle hard, you know, and fast and sharp. Right. So basically, if you can get him to pull back on the hook, because you're showing it, he's gonna have his attention on the hook, and the right hand is not going to have it be attentive to it, and the straight right hand is going to drive down the middle. He'll never see it coming. If it's done right, that's the way you want it to come out. And I remember seeing the left hook right hand combination on the Wilder Malik Scott fight, and it ended the fight. And I remember looking at the replay and thinking seeing the hook kind of touch Scott a little bit, and the right hand came up short. It kind of hit him between the gloves, but it didn't hit him. It didn't penetrate the gloves that much. And Scott went down, and he took the count, and he was out. And so I was questioning the knockout. I remember questioning the knockout and questioning, and everybody, and in the replays, I remember my co-commentators, and I'm not the type to argue on the air, so I kind of let it go anyway. But I'm kind of giving you guys the whole inside info of it here. In the replay, you see the hook kind of land on Scott, because again, it's not the power shot you want to look for. Now, keep in mind, Breland is Wilder's coach. Orlando was Breland's pad man. So this is a combination that's probably passed down, you know, or the fundamentals of the way this is thrown is passed down. So I know it. I know it exact. So when the left hook touches Scott, it's not that much emphasis on it, and the right hand comes up short. So basically, in the post fight, obviously Malik Scott has to explain why he went down from right hand that didn't land. So he says the hook is what made him really wobbly and really shook him up. And I remember saying, no, there's nothing on that hook. That's not the combination he's throwing. You know what I'm saying? Like the right hand is supposed to land, and it's not landing. There's nothing there. There's nothing on the hook. The hook is a show me shot. It touched him. So I remember trying to explain that. And I don't know if I came across, because I think my co-commentators were just wanted to listen to Malik Scott say it was the left hook. And I remember the next morning, Malik was also still saying it was the left hook, because obviously what else are you going to say? The right hand doesn't land. So, but I remember thinking, this is something that I took specifically and directly from having worked with Orlando, who had worked with Breland, right? Who also worked with Wilder.
That's interesting, because I know Mark, and I like training. I still like training at the Bed-Stuy gym, and what happens is back I don't know if you remember this too, when Mark was winning all these Golden Gloves, they called it the.
I was young. I was young, but I know the story.
Right.
He's not old like us, Dave. He's he's younger.
The Cherry Cheese Special was supposedly Mark Breland's. He threw the jab, and he threw a left hook and a right hand. You know, and that was George Washington, who was the trainer there. That was his big combination. And I remember looking through Bed-Stuy. I mean, I've seen some of the guys use it in sparring. You know, this Cherry Cheese Special, which is the same thing as the combination you're talking about, except with the jab added to it. I never saw Mark Breland throw it once. Never. You know, never. But I looked through his tape. I go, Mark, where's this alleged cherry tree special that you're supposed to do? He goes, oh yeah, it's this. I said, I never seen you do it once in fun. I've never seen you do it once.
Yeah, if you add the jab, you're adding a punch to it. It's a little bit more difficult. You can do it, but again, you have to understand. Yeah. You have to, yes, because you have to understand the first two punches are decoys. The hook right hand, the left hook is a decoy. Now, if you're adding a jab left hook, those are two decoy shots. So you have to be careful not to give them too much emphasis, because otherwise you're gonna give away your right hand. You know, so that's the punch you don't want to show, because that's the one you want to drive. So of course these are they're specifically talking about it sounds easier than doing it, but when you have to actually do it, not giving up those other two not giving yourself away when you're using those setup punches is not as easy as it sounds.
Yeah. George Foreman knocked out Michael Moore with that same combination, that left hook right hand. He kind of does. Yeah, it's a little short touch, and then he smashes the right hand up the middle. Yep.
All right, so let me take a quick break and give some shout outs here to a couple of people. Alex Devon, then Nighthawk 13666. He wants to know, can we put I'm going to put this up. We'll switch gears a little bit. He wants to know, can you talk about Paulie and the Cotto crazy hard as a lion in that fight, and he never gave up? You remember that? I know you remember that fight, but can you talk
of course
about that?
Wow.
Yeah, it was it was a night where I had to show character and I had to show heart. I just remember thinking, this night can be either a night where I can make good on everything that's promised of me, or if I go in there and get blown right out, it would undo my first 21 professional fights where I had been undefeated. It would completely undo them all if I went in there and got blown away. So once the fight got off to a bad start, I knew I had to find a way to try to kind of change gears and not only stay in the fight, but make it competitive and try to win it, you know? And Cotto is not the kind of guy you can try to survive against and last a distance, because he's just so good at finding you, being adept. He's adept at cutting off the ring and forcing you to fight his fight and just taking you out. So if you fight Cotto with a survival mentality, you will get stopped 100%. You will get stopped. So you have to keep a winning mentality in the ring when you're fighting Cotto the whole time, you know? And I remember, that was where it got tricky, because I got off to a bad start. I got dropped early on the fight, and then I broke my orbital bone, and now I'm swallowing my own blood, and I got my face swelling, and I've got to figure out a way to, not only not lose desire, but try to figure out a way to give him enough problems to where he is not just kind of casually killing me. You know what I'm saying? If I give him enough to second guess himself, it's going to allow me to kind of make my way into this fight. So I had to show, obviously, a lot of character in getting through that, because the Puerto Rican fans on the eve of the Puerto Rican Day Parade, those are not fans you want to be up against, you know. And it is quite an amazing crowd, and it's one of those things that you can look back on later on, like now, and you can kind of be fond of the experience regardless of how painful it was, because it's like, wow, I did that, I fought in front of that crowd, and that was a pretty amazing crowd to fight in front of, and they were emotionally charged. It was loud the whole time, and it was definitely not easy, but in showing that character, I think I was able to gain the respect of everybody in boxing, and then from then on, it kind of changed my life. It changed my life in that I was on and off struggling for money, but until that point, because I kept hurting my hands in fights that I was making almost no money, So suddenly, I would have to take big breaks, and I was making small purses. Suddenly, I was always kind of running low on money. After the Cotto fight, I never had that problem again. So it was definitely life changing.
All right, so you got to ask the Filmworks that says Cotto fight was insane, and he says Forza. Then you have Nighthawk. He says the Cotto fight made me a Paulie fan for life, and I think it did for a lot of people, because you always found a way, and that's why they call you the Magic Man, to stay in the fight, even with all these things, adversities that you faced. You're talking about an orbital bone that's broken, you're swallowing blood, and you have a broken head, but you still made it, which is pretty amazing, because you're thinking, and that's what I think why I admire you as a boxer, because you can see that you're thinking the whole time that you're fighting, even though you're down, but you're fighting and you're thinking, and you're making it fun as a fan to watch, and that's why we respect you, and we love you, and we're fans of Paulie Malignaggi. D Bravo says he wants to ask you about Badillo.
Willie Badillo.
Willie Badillo was my very first coach. Willie was without Willie, honestly, I wouldn't have gotten off to the right start. I tell you, Willie plays a very important pivotal role in my life, because I remember when I started boxing, my uncle took me to the gym. We didn't have a lot of money. And he said, okay, I'm going to take him to the gym. And I got a funny story. I'm going to actually expose this trainer. He's a friend of mine, but I'm going to put him on blast right now. Not Willie. Willie's not Willie. But the people don't know, and nobody ever knows. I've never said this story publicly. I've said it to my friends, obviously. My family knows. 1 year before I started boxing June 97. In August 1996, my uncle, before I started school that year, because I was already messing around and getting myself in trouble, he said, you know what? He goes, I'm going to take you to the gym, and I'm going to pay for it myself. He goes, I'm going to take you and your brother, you and your little brother. It was my little brother. Because I just got kicked out of my mother's house. I was living with my grandparents. And my uncle was also living there because, like I said, he's not that much older than me. So he takes me to the gym, and it was packed that day. It was really packed. It was full, and he takes me to a trainer who's still a friend of mine when I see him, Angel Rivera. And Angel doesn't even know the story. Angel definitely doesn't remember this. I've been almost ashamed to tell Angel the story.
Big shout out.
My uncle, big shout out to Angel too. And so Angel, my uncle brings me into the gym, and it's $45 a month at the time to train in the gym. So it's going to be $45 for me and $45 for my brother. So we need a trainer. Usually the trainer will also charge you, so we got to make a deal with the trainer.
This is in Gleason's, by the way? This is
not what this is in Gleason's. Yes, it's in Gleason's.
Okay.
This is a year before I started boxing. Okay. So my uncle brings us to Angel because he used to know Angel when he used to box, and he brings us to Angel, and he asks Angel, I got my 2 nephews, I need them to start boxing. He goes, can we make a deal or something like that, whatever. And Angel says, okay, give me $35 a week for each of them. So that's $70 a week, plus $45 a month, plus $45 a month. For each for the gym, $90 a month each for the gym. So my uncle only 23 at the time, just turning 24 actually. So he's like, you guys are beat. I can't afford this, So that's it. Yeah. So I start school. I go through a hellacious school year. I get kicked out, whatever. A year later, my other uncle takes me to the gym. Now the uncle that brought me the year before had boxed, but he sends his brother to send me to the gym because my uncle that day was busy. So he sends one of his older brothers to take me to the gym. Takes me to the gym. The gym is empty. It's in the evening. It's about 6 o'clock. It's still sun time. The sun is still out. It's summertime. It's the June, and he takes me to the gym. I remember the date was June 25th, 1997. He takes me to the gym. Nobody's in there. Just Willie Badillo's in there. And we walk in, and my uncle tells Willie, the kid wants to box, but we don't have a lot of money. What is the charge here? And Willie tells my uncle, which basically this changes my life, because I think if Willie gives the wrong answer, maybe I never start boxing. Willie says, okay, I'll give you. The gym is $45 a month. I can't help that because you have to pay that as a gym dues. But if the kid shows up every day and trains and shows me he wants to do it and shows me a desire, I won't charge him. Wow. And obviously I was able to start boxing. And so Willie plays a huge role because I got my first lessons from Willie. I learned to box with Willie. I actually even turned pro for a little bit of time with Willie before finally we broke off. But Willie was a guy who without being the person that he was, I don't think I would have been starting to box, because like I said, a year before with Angel, who up until now I've never publicly said the story. Angel could have had me a year before, and because of the price he gave my uncle, it was out. So
Angel, you lost out.
So big. That's why it's important with these amateur trainers and these gyms. I mean, sometimes, a kid might be down on the luck. You don't know who you're turning away. You never, ever know. And thankfully, thankfully.
And then, like I said, thankfully for Willie, he gave me that answer, because if Willie gives a different answer, if Willie gives, for example, and again, I love Angel too, but if Willie gives the Angel answer, Paulie Malignaggi maybe never starts boxing, Wow. So instead I come back the next morning, it was the evening. I come back the next morning for my first gym day in the gym. Willie's there, he's got all the equipment. I got shoes on, I got a pair of shorts, and he wraps my hands and so on. We start my very first boxing lesson, June 26, 1997. It's a Thursday. I remember it's a Thursday. Why do I remember this week so well too? Because that Saturday night, the 28th, you know what night it was?
No.
The bite fight, Tyson Holyfield bite fight. Tyson Holyfield too. So 2 days after I started boxing, the bite fight happens. so the next week, we got all the news in the gym all week long. Like, I'm talking about like mainstream news. They want to hear like from boxing gyms out how people feel about this bite fight. So like, there's like all kinds of crazy newscasts all over the gym all week long, and I'm just like, I thought it was normal for this gym. I'm like, oh, this place is crazy. Like, wow, this is nuts. This place is great. Like, I was like trying to jump in front of cameras when people get interviewed, you know, like I was trying to like, you know, I was like the kid that waves behind the camera and stuff. I was like, wow, this is great, you know. So that's it. It sold me for that time at least, and so on and so forth. Obviously, after that week, it wasn't like that all the time, but it was an interesting first full week in the gym for me.
How exciting was that? How exciting! Oh,
yeah. I remember they were filming me hitting the bag once, and all I knew how to do was a 1-2 after a week, you know. So I was just hitting 1-2s on the bag, and Willie wouldn't let me throw anything else but 1s and 2s for like 2-3 weeks, you know. And like, because he didn't want me to confuse myself, he wanted me to work my balance and just 1s and 2s. So the next week I'm hitting the bag with 1s and 2s, but I was always naturally fast. I was like 1-1-2, 1-1-2, and then the TV camera for the newscast like kind of is, you know, they're kind of hovering over the gym, and they passed by me, so I thought it was like the coolest thing, you know. I got on the news. I called my friends. I'm like, yo, you up in the paper? There's no cell phone. The paper on the gym. Yo, check out the news later. It's like, you're gonna see me on TV.
Oh my God!
Fast forward later, who would know? You know, you got Paulie Malignaggi, the Magic Man, and you fighting.
Yeah, you never know.
That was a precursor, but what was to come?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
All right, the question, because we got people tuning in, and I want to give a shout out to Chad Mullen, and this is a pretty good question, and we've asked you this on when we were together during the amateur fights. Chad Mullen wants to know: would you ever fight Conor McGregor?
Question is, would McGregor fight me? I mean, did you guys see McGregor's last fight? Did you guys see it? I mean, I saw it. Did you guys see it?
Yeah.
I think it's pretty pitiful when they gotta bring a guy back from half dead in the grave to go get you a win, because you haven't won a fight in 4 years, and then they gotta get you a guy like that in order to you know, to market your name. And then you can't tell me that I'm not a big enough name for McGregor. I'm way bigger name than a guy who's half dead in the grave, like Cerrone, who had his time, mind you. It's not a knock on Cerrone, but it was, you know, it just wasn't, you know, Cerrone was done, completely shot. As a matter of fact, I saw an interview with Cerrone this past week, and he was saying how he didn't even want to fight on fight week. He didn't want to be there. So this is the kind of guy they bring you in to get a win against. A guy who himself is admitting he didn't want to be there. That's your only win in 4 years.
Wow.
Come on, bro. Like, I'm not making it up. You know what I'm saying? Like, the question is, does he want to fight me? That's the question.
Well, okay, so Paulie, now you've gone through, you know, obviously you've hurt your hands a couple times, but let's say there's a money fight right now. You know, he says, Conor McGregor says, "Hey man, let's make it happen, Captain." What would you do? What are you gonna say? I mean, I know you retired. I know. I'd say the same thing I've always said, and I'm only going to consider fights up until I turn 40, which unfortunately I turn 48 later this year, so then I won't consider fights anymore. But I would say the same thing I've been saying. Me and McGregor, for us to fight, it would have to be winner takes all. Like, at this point, he dragged my name through the mud with the made up stories and the BS. That now, in order for him to get a fight with me, there's a lot of money on the table, but only the winner can take it. There's a lot of money on the table. He'd make a lot more than he would fighting Cerrone if he's able to win. But only the winner can take it. And for that reason, the fight will never happen, because he knows better than I know what happens to him if he gets in the ring with me. So, you know, we can talk about it. We can abuse him all we want. And, of course, I never get tired of that, because I'm always going to abuse him. Because what is he going to do? Fight me? What is he going to do? Release the sparring that I kicked his ass in that he's never going to release? So he's got nothing. He's got nothing to hold his hands on. So now, basically, non-disclosure agreement on that. Is that what it was?
No, there was a non-disclosure agreement, but non-disclosure in terms of talking about it, because I don't have a video. I don't have a video. He recorded the video. He recorded the video. I don't have a video. It was his camp, you know. So I don't have a video. He has a video, so he can release it all he wants. I mean, the fight happened. It's over. Him and Mayweather. He can release his sparring. There's nothing for him to release, though. What is he going to release? Him getting his ass whooped? There's nothing to release. So, like I said, I never get tired of abusing him, because what is he going to do? Fight me? No. What is he going to do? Release the video and then threaten me? No, because he can't do that either. He's going to embarrass himself one way, and he's going to embarrass himself the other way. So I'm going to cut his options, and I'm just going to keep embarrassing him myself as well.
Wow.
Good stuff. All right. Ron McCall's tuning in. He says that the guys he's mentoring, Willie and Angel, are products of the Bed-Stuy gym.
This guy's right. This guy who's Ronald McCall, he's 100% right, because I remember Willie telling me about the Bed-Stuy gym, and I remember him telling me when Riddick Bowe used to train there, and all this, and all the stories, and Breland and whatnot. yes, Willie was in the Bed-Stuy gym before. I was not around when Willie was in the Bed-Stuy gym, but I remember Willie telling me stories about the Bed-Stuy gym. And obviously the Bed-Stuy gym was a very formidable gym in the days when I trained in Gleason's. Like the best fighters in the Golden Gloves, I remember usually came out of either Gleason's or Bed-Stuy, and maybe a couple of other places here and there. But the most part, the most top fighters came out of Bed-Stuy or Gleason's gym.
All right, Sean, a big shout out to Sean Walter Taylor. He says, do you think the zone entering HBOs and exit from boxing was hurt pro boxing profile? No, you know what? I don't think so. I'm going to tell you right now. I think the zone is the best thing that ever happened to boxing. I mean, you got people that couldn't watch. This is my opinion, and Paulie, you can jump in and Dave, because people that couldn't afford to pay pay-per-view $80 or whatever, $90 for a fight, with this is $10 a month, and I think it's great. And you're seeing top-notch fighters, and you're seeing some stuff, and also I think fights.
Yeah. I think you also get international fights, so it's a positive. Like there's fights you can get from other countries. The DAZN is a worldwide channel, so if you have it, you can get fights from other countries that maybe you wouldn't have gotten before. But so I think there's a positive. I think the negative is, I don't know what ability they're gonna be able to afford what they're doing. Especially with the pandemic. I think if anything, we should be asking if anything help or hurt the sport of boxing is the pandemic more so than any channel. I think all these channels are good for boxing if they can televise and afford to televise the fights they do. But I think with this pandemic going on, I think a lot of people are going to have to take pay cuts, and a lot of people are getting fired and whatnot. And also fighters are not able to get fights. And even when they come back, we may be having fights in empty arenas or empty places, which is sort of like a sparring session. It's very weird, but guys got to make livings. So I don't know how that's going to affect the sport in itself, because some fans love tuning in, not just for the fight, but also for the atmosphere. Like you lose a big part of a big chunk of the adrenaline when you lose the crowd.
Right.
The fights are always going to be good. The talent is always going to be there. But even playing from an emotional standpoint, the crowd is something you have to fight against sometimes. And now not having that is it definitely changes things a little bit. So we'll see.
All right, let's switch gears now totally. Let's go into something else that you did, bare knuckle fighting. I'm going to put up a picture here. And you fought in bare knuckle, one fight in bare knuckle fighting against Artem Lebov. Now, that's the fight there. I mean, you're catching.
That's a nice little check hook right there. He's missed and he's falling forward. That was actually all night. It was basically, that was a rare right hand I threw because I broke my hand on one of the right hands. That must have been round one. Yeah. But I was basically just. And I know I credit Artem because the guy will literally fight anybody. He's a guy who shows up, not the most talented guy, but shows up and just goes to work. But I honestly, I never thought the fight was in jeopardy. I could not believe that decision. Even when I broke my hand, it was one of the easiest fights of my career. And the less educated fan, which is probably all MMA fans, but the less educated fan is going to say, "Oh, look at the blow on your face. That wasn't easy." That was kind of easy actually, because in bare knuckle, when you get grazed, it's probably worse than getting hit clean, because the grazing punches are the ones that cut you. And so I don't remember ever getting hit with a clean shot all night. I got hit in a clinch once maybe, and that kind of opened up the bigger cut on me. But I didn't think, I'll put it like this, I didn't think it was possible to not be sore after a fight, like the day after a fight. I didn't think it was like if somebody would have told me I wasn't sore after this fight. I've had first round knockouts. Like I've had a couple of stoppages in the first round in my career. And I've had first round knockouts where the next day I'm sore. Even after getting an early stoppage. So I didn't think it would be possible to not be sore the day after a fight until I fought this fight. Like I didn't. That's how easy the fight was, regardless of the fact that yes, I broke my hand and I wound up with stitches. If you actually watch the fight, there is nothing landing. There is he's grazing me with you can count him on one hand what he grazed me with. There's nothing landing, and my hands are the only thing that got beat up. My hands were wrecked from punching them, punching the hell out of them.
I got like a 20-second clip. Let's watch that real quick.
Mm-hmm.
We saw that. You saw that right there. I mean, I saw you slipping a lot of punches.
There's a lot of shots, and even that left hand that lands at the end, I remember that shot because it's one of the rare shots that looked like it landed, but really it kind of grazed me, and I tripped over his foot. He's a lefty, so as I'm going backwards, you don't see the feet there. His foot, his lead foot was in the way, and so I tripped over his foot as I'm backing off. So I kind of tripped over his foot, and again, the less educated eye, which is all MMA fans and probably the judges who are MMA judges, they'll look at it like, oh, that's a big shot. But in reality, even that one wasn't a big shot because I was going away from it, and his foot was in the way, and I tripped over it because a southpaw right-hander, as we know, in boxing terms, as we know, because boxing fans are more educated on this, your feet will get tangled up at times. And he's a left-hander, and I'm a right-hander.
Yeah, no, we saw it. George and I were talking about it. Definitely, if gloves are on, there's no chance for that guy. But
I mean, if gloves are off, the only problem is my own hands. Like unfortunately, I was born with like a piano player's hands. Look at this is my left hand, which is, you see how thin my hands have always been. I got these long fingers and thin hands. So, I wasn't blessed with hands that were probably made to be a fighter. But in reality, I mean, if skill for skill, talent for talent, if my hands aren't taking damage, it's like I said, it wasn't a difficult fight even despite the hand injuries. It was not a difficult fight.
Okay, I'm good with it. Let me just switch gears 1 second. I want to shout out Bruce Carrington is looking at his dad, Shushu and his dad.
Oh yeah, Shushu, yeah. Those are one of the best up-and-coming fighters from New York and probably the country in the United States.
He's number one right now as the featherweight in the United States.
Yeah, I think he was qualified for the Olympics. I think I don't know if they had the Americas qualifiers, but I know that he was on the U.S. team for sure.
Yeah, so he's watching, fan of yours and everything. And this is something that I'd like to I just want to switch gears for a second. We're going to talk about intelligence. We'll talk about.
Yeah, what was that? What was that last post just now? Was that whose birthday was June 25th? What was that?
Shushu's dad. Is his dad?
Shushu was born June 26th, 97.
His dad was born. No, his dad was born on the 25th of June, and that's what he was saying.
Oh, his dad.
Okay, and 1997 is the year Bruce is born. Shushu. Is that what are you saying?
I'm gonna see.
It went off the screen, but whatever. It's a good little stat.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's just switch gears for a quick second. Now, most athletes are broke after their last year playing ball or their last fight in the boxing game, a lot quicker in the boxing game. All right. So if you didn't have ShowTime, what would your life be like?
I don't know. It's a good question. I feel like I was always I was always mispromoted, so to speak. So I feel like I don't know if there's a balance and energy or whatnot that comes my way, that I feel like it balanced out in a different way, where I got a commentating job instead, and I was able to take care of myself, because I felt like when I turned pro, I remember before turning pro, I was a very good amateur. I was actually the U.S. national champion. I was ranked #1 in the country when I turned pro in the U.S. at my weight class. And I remember everybody always telling me, Brian, you are so marketable. I mean, first of all, I spoke 3 languages. I still do speak 3 languages. I speak Italian, Spanish, and English. So you speak 3 languages. You're good looking. You can speak in front of people. You don't get nervous, and you can fight. You can fight. Yeah, and you can fight. And he goes, and of course the other one, which obviously which I learned in my life is total bullshit, is and you're white. They made like this being white thing was like this gift from God. Like as if it mattered, like as if he was going to get you more marketed. I don't feel too many more marketable fighters come around than myself. I really don't at that time. And I'm being generous to myself. Again, I can trash talk better than anybody in the sport. Nobody's ever beat me in a trash talk in press conference. Nobody would. Again, I can speak in 3 languages. I can turn it on and off, which is shown to you when I commentate. Now that I've had the chance to commentate, I can fight because I wasn't turning pro and come out of nowhere. I was, like I said, I was a U.S. amateur champion, and I was 2-time New York Golden Glove champion. So it's not like I came out of nowhere. They saw me coming. And yet nobody took advantage of all this. I did have many hand injuries, so it did slow my progress. But then once I got to the big time, they just kept feeding me to big names. Right away, they fed me to Cotto, they fed me to whatever. And I had to fight. And you know what? I didn't mind it. I tried to fight my way through it. Sometimes I won, sometimes I lost. I made a career out of it. But in reality, I think that it's everything sort of balanced out. Maybe I didn't get the most out of my marketability that I should have. But I think it balanced out in that something bubbled to the surface, and people took notice of the fact that, you know, this kid is talented in this other way too, and let's give him a chance to commentate. And I give my boss Steven Espinosa credit for that, because he gave me that chance, and I ran with it.
Right.
Showtime's boss, Steven Espinosa.
Yeah. Well, not only are you not only are you a good commentator, but you could back it up, because you've been a 2-time world champion. You know, so it's not like you haven't been, you know, in the ring. God knows you fought this bare knuckle fight. You fought all the names. You know.
Yeah, and I think that I would not have been able to become a commentator in any other way. So maybe this was sort of my education towards becoming a commentator. You know, and in becoming a top level fighter, you learn to deal with the media. You learn to speak in public a lot. You learn to speak at press conferences, to the media, and in interviews. So you kind of become much more flexible, much more relaxed under those circumstances, where maybe a person who's not used to speaking with the media may get a little bit more nervous and not be comfortable in front of a camera, in front of a live camera especially. But I think that was basically all my schooling to become a commentator. You know, I had to have a top level boxing career, and obviously get used to dealing with the media. And then by the time I became a commentator, I had all the schooling I needed, because in reality, I didn't have that fundamental schooling, which is, you know, high school, college, where usually guys who have my job will go to. So, you know, like I said, it worked around on the back end instead of on the front end, where, you know, most guys will have my job by, you know, going to university and getting a degree at it and stuff like that. You know, I did it I did it in a different way.
Well, yeah, let's talk about that for 1 second. Say that, George?
Yeah, I want to ask him a question regarding now. Are you completely done with boxing? You being an athlete in boxing?
Like I said, I consider things until I turn 40. I turned 40 on November 23rd of this year. So
okay, so
I consider things. I announced my retirement, and I still consider myself retired, because I think you're retired once you stop campaigning. You know, I stopped campaigning in 2017. Campaigning meaning, you know, you're looking for big fights, title shots. You know, you're looking to work your way up the rankings. To me, that's campaigning. I stopped campaigning in 2017. Yes, but since 2017, I will consider a fight here or there to come back with if it tickles my fancy, so to speak. But I think by the time I turn 40 later this year, I think I'll stop even considering that, no matter what. It's not like I'm desperate for money. So it's not like I need it. It's not like you know, it's something that would really have to tickle my fancy, and some things do when I think about them. You know, like some things do, and it's not like you ever really lose that desire completely, but you lose the desire. Some of the desire you do lose. So some things are still, you know, motivating enough. But until I turn 40, after I turn 40, I told myself that's it, because it's not like my body's cooperating anymore every day. You know, it's cooperating less and less.
It's easier to hold a mic than it is to punching somebody in the face, right?
Yes, but holding a mic will never give you the adrenaline fighting does.
Gotcha.
But then not again, because check this out. We've had world champions, right? Good fighters, great fighters. They know what they're seeing. They're saying it. You put a mic in front of them, they're like, "Yeah, I see it." And that's all you get from it. You don't.
Yeah, but again, that is one of the things I mentioned in terms of my marketability. I always had that. You know, I was always talking. I was always, you know, I always had that ability to self-market. Like I said, I speak many languages. I think even in the media, even am I promoting for my own fights, you know, I do Spanish interviews. I do Spanish language interviews. When I go to Italy, I'm on Italian talk shows and I do Italian interviews, you know, so the ability to speak different languages, the ability to, you know, be, have a flexible tongue, so to speak, and not be nervous and kind of know how to react when a camera is in front of you and a microphone is in front of you, I think is important in terms of your marketability. There are so many angles to your marketability. Absolutely. The it factor is hard to just describe in one thing, but the fighter either has it or he doesn't.
All right. Bruce Carrington says you're the best commentator. And you know what? I got to agree with Bruce Carrington as well. I think right now you're my favorite commentator in boxing, period. And it's because of that boxing IQ that you have and you bring into commentating. It helps us as the fans watch and understand what we're watching. And then the way you do it, you speak very eloquent when you're talking about boxing. And you can see the passion there. You can hear it. And it's a lot of fun to watch. Now, what happens with Showtime? Now, boxing is shut off right now because of COVID. Mm-hmm. What happens after it comes back? Are you per diem or do you have a contract? How does that work?
Yeah, I have a contract with my guys at Showtime. I think, I actually had a phone conference meeting with them about a week ago, and they said that, when we do come back, it may be with no crowds. It may be in studios. We may put a ring in studios, and we may have some big fights there, and we'll be able to call them, because people will only be able to watch these fights on TV. They won't be able to come to the arena. So TV fights will actually become pretty in demand. It's just you won't have a crowd, so you won't have that atmosphere. It'll still be weird probably watching on TV, but it's better than nothing. So there is a job out there for me once this thing kind of slows down, but we'll see. I think I'm thinking about people's health first, and people's sanity, so to speak.
Right. Now you said you speak different languages, and I want to get back to what you started talking about in the beginning of the show. You said businesses. Do you speak the language of business? And if so, what are these businesses that you have started?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always trying to expand myself and trying to diversify myself, so to speak. So I'm in some stocks, I'm in some real estate, and I have some businesses. One of the main businesses I have is it's an online tax company, which I'm a partner in. My friend Jonathan Hernandez is the majority owner of the company, and I came into the company, and it's an online tax company, online tax preparation, and it's honestly one of the best moves I made, because in reality, tax season is always gonna be there every year, no matter what. And in times like this, especially, people are looking to make money because they're not making money. They're going to file their taxes. More people are going to file their taxes than even usual, because they want a tax return right now. So the company's making us money. So it was one of the best moves I made, because it's honestly recession proof. I think things that have to do with death and taxes are recession proof. Like if you're a mortician, you're always going to have a job, no matter what. And if you're an accountant, you probably always have a job too. So I'm not an accountant, but I invested in this company. I think it's one of my better moves. I've been in and out of different restaurants. I remember there was a restaurant I was a partner in, but the majority owner sold it. It was called Beauty and Essex. It's in Manhattan, and I was one of the investors in Beauty and Essex. It's still there. Manhattan but Beauty and Essex is still one of the major restaurants in the city. I was one of the investors, and I invested in that place, and I made really, really good money. My friend Chris Santos is the majority owner of that. And he's with the Tao Group, and he got me in, and I've been friends with him from before. And I remember when he approached me for it, he said, "Listen, I'm not looking for favors. I'm doing this for my friends. I'm giving them offers to do this because I know it's going to make money, and I don't need a favor from you to invest in this place." And then basically broke it down for me, and gave me the deal, and I decided to invest in it. Not only did I make my money back investing, but I also, when they sold the company, I also got a piece of that too. So it was like. It was really a good move. So I have a piece of an auto body shop in Coney Island. I have a piece of a clothing line called Future Legend that is still in the developmental stages. So and I've also made some not so smart moves. I don't want to sit here like I know I'm not the guy. You always talk about the guy who gambles and he tells you about his big wins and he never tells you about his big losses. Right. I've also made some not so great moves too. But I think having the experience to make certain moves and gaining experience also taught me how to make the right moves too. Unfortunately, when you're a professional athlete or you make money in big bulks, a lot of people start coming your way. They start gravitating towards you to try to figure out a way to take the money from you, being it in dumb investments, being it in just ideas that they have just in order to get your money, filter your money from your pocket to their pocket without robbing you. It's legal robbery essentially. Right. So you have to kind of figure out essentially which guys you're going to work with and which guys you're not going to work with. And I think through experience, I learned that. I think between 20 and 30, my father, who's one of the nuttiest guys I know, my father, mind you, he lives in Sicily, but we have a relationship that's more like friends than father-son, because my father wasn't around that much when I was a kid. But he told me something very interesting. He said between 20 and 30 is not when a man is made. A man is made between 30 and 40. Usually, if a man is made between 30 and 40, by the time he's 40, if he hasn't made it yet or he hasn't figured it out yet, he's most likely not going to figure it out. It's going to be a lot harder. Between 20 and 30, you're still figuring it out. You're going to make a lot of mistakes. You're gonna understand it. So by the time you hit 30 to 40 is when you really base yourself for life. You make those decisions that are gonna set you for life between 30 and 40. And he told me this when I was in my 20s, so I didn't really pay attention to it. But now that I'm hitting 40, I realized he was right. And so I was able to be a lot smarter in my 30s than I was in my 20s for sure.
All right, Paulie, we're coming up in an hour, and I want to ask this quick question. I got 2 more questions, and I think we should wrap it up. But New York City Cops and Kids asked, if you were turning pro now, current time, who would you sign up with? The Zone, PBC, Top Rank, etc.?
Oh, I don't know. I'll tell you what. It wasn't there. The three big guns. I think you're in good hands with any of the three big guns, and I think the three big guns are ESPN and Top Rank, the Zone and Matchroom, or Al Heyman and PBC. You need, when you turn pro, you want a promoter that gets TV dates. Without a promoter that gets TV dates, it just becomes a lot more difficult to navigate your boxing career, you know? And sometimes you don't have a choice. Sometimes maybe you're just a kind of a middle tier prospect, and you can't get with the big guns, you know? So you got to sign with a lesser gun and hope to be noticed later. But as long as you're moving, that's important. You need to be moved at least. But if you can get with the big guns, those are the ones you want, because those are the ones that guarantee you dates all the time, you know, aside from the pandemic, of course. So I don't know that I would choose one or the other. You know, it's interesting because I think Al Heyman treats his fighters really good. I was with Al Heyman at the end of my career, and he's very generous with his money, and he's a very smart guy, a smart businessman, and he looks out for his fighters. But I also respect the way Top Rank and Matchroom have also done business, and the way that they've marketed their fighters and you know, made stars out of their fighters as well. And of course, DAZN has the contract in Italy, which obviously, you know, is always something that piques my interest, because, you know, it's Italy and I speak Italian and I have a relationship with, and a dynamic with the country and with their media, you know. So I don't know. I can't say I would make a certain decision one way or the other, but I will say that those three are really, if you can get one of those three, I think your career is going to be in good hands.
All right. Well, one quick question also. What about promoting and managing? What do you see yourself down the line getting in this business?
No, I don't really have a lot of time for it. Like I said, I sponsor the Cangelosi brothers, and I do that more out of love. You know, I know their family. I know they're, you know, we're from Sicily, and I know their background, and I just kind of took a liking to them. But it's not something that I do on a business mind. It's more so, you know, it'd be nice that if one day they make it, and then they're, you know, it'd be great if it blows up and everybody makes money. But in reality, you know, it's more so that I do something just out of the joy I feel out of giving them the ability to come to the United States and compete in American tournaments and maybe turn pro in America and just have the opportunities that they wouldn't have had, you know. So, you know, we'll see how far they go. You know, I think they have talent, but, you know, there's a lot to work on as there is with all prospects. But as far as jumping in completely and making a managerial company or a promotional company, I don't want to wind up in so far into this business that I can't get out of it, you know. So I'd rather just stick to the commentating and see what go from there.
I enjoy watching the Cangelosis. I think they're great athletes, and I can't wait to see them. I hope they continue with boxing. They're a lot of fun to. I think they're very marketable. All right, Paulie, I gotta ask.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. Yeah, I said they're very passionate about the boxing, and then they're very happy to be able to, you know, be in it, have the opportunities they have. So I hope to see them go far as well.
All right, Dave, you wanted to ask a question because we're going to wrap it up. We've been a little bit.
Yeah, with Cangelosi, just to let people know that they're training in our gym in Cops and Kids. They're training in our gym in Brooklyn with us. I don't know where they are now. They're in Italy?
Right now, they're actually leaving to Italy in 2 days. I had them in Brooklyn. They were here for I had them here getting ready for the ring masters and whatnot. Christian just turned pro. The older one just turned pro, and now and was going to fight his second pro fight on DAZN in Italy, but that got scratched with the pandemic, and so the ring masters also got scratched. So they're going back to Italy for a little bit, and they'll be back, you know, probably in the next couple of months. We'll see.
All right, Paulie, how do we follow you? Tell us a little bit about your brands and you know, social media and stuff, and then we'll wrap it up. You want to speak on that?
I mean, I'm at Paulie Malignaggi on Twitter and Instagram. If you need your taxes done, tax season is extended to July 15th. So check us out at truthfultaxes.com. It's an easy way to get your taxes done. We also have many partner establishments all over the tri-state area, and even as far as down in Florida, we have a lot of accountants working with us. So we're in the area. If you need your taxes done, we're good. We'll get you your max refund, and you know you got to do your taxes. If you got no money right now, you know you want to do your taxes so you can get a refund.
So what's the website on that? Triple Tax?
Truthful Taxes. Truthful Taxes.
All right, I'm gonna put
Truthful
up just a second. Yeah, Dave, you want to show something?
Yeah, Paulie, what do you think of these? These are our SmokerTalk brand socks.
I like them. Those can make some funky stylistic statement for a fighter in the ring as well.
That's what I'm saying. So we started a Shoo Coach's Corner Smoker Talk challenge, and basically, I'm showing different moves on IG. Shoo's doing it. We're asking people to tag us in their videos, like a TikTok or an IG video to do it. And the winners get these socks. But Paulie, you're a winner just because of who you are. Would you
I appreciate it.
Sending you a pair of these socks, and would you rock them or what?
Gladly. You know what? If I wish I was fighting, I'd rock them in a fight. but yeah, of course I'll rock them. They look stylish.
You heard it, right? That was an unsolicited testimonial as to the powerfulness of these stocks.
All right, so that's truthfultaxes.com. Make sure you get your taxes done. We put up the link there for you. So I think that's it. That's about it. Thank you, Paulie, for joining us here. As always a gentleman, great commentator. We're going to keep our eyes open up for you when you start commentating once again. And thank you for being gracious with us and, supporting the boxing game here for the amateurs and what we do here with Smoker Talk Boxing.
Absolutely, man. I miss you guys being ringside for the amateur fights, man. I hope to see you guys back soon.
Yeah. And, anytime, and I really mean this, and me and Dave, anytime
let them know that he's commentated with us.
Oh, yeah.
Let him know.
Anybody sitting there, you push him out, you sit there, it's your seat. You always have a mic. Welcome with us, Paulie.
Paulie has commentated with us a few times. We're probably his favorite amateur co-commentator.
I have. I've tried to avoid the Cangelosi brothers commentating their fights with you guys, but aside from that, I've loved sitting ringside with you guys.
Awesome.
There's been another great show of Smoker Talk Boxing. We thank you, Paulie, from Dave, myself, and everybody here in the boxing scene. Thank you so much. Everybody have a good night. Remember to tune in next Tuesday at 8 p.m. where we have the Coach's Corner, and Coach Dave is going to be talking about some strategies in boxing. All right. So we'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much for tuning in as always. And this is Smoker Talk Boxing. Take care now.
All right. Take care.